What what is it like? Two-part question. What is it like being a wife? What does it mean to be a wife? And then what is it like being my wife? Because anybody who knows me, everybody say that. How do you deal with him? How does it, like you know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm a good dude. I feel like you know what I'm saying. I'm a good husband. I feel like I'm fun to be around. But everybody, how do you deal with him? Oh my God, I couldn't imagine being married, being stuck with this guy all the time. I don't think they mean out of a bad place, but you know, answer that question. Like, what is it like being a wife? You weren't
That's
always a
such
wife.
a loaded question, such a big question. Like it could be here for hours talking about that.
Well, okay, I got
People
time.
have books and books about that. So many videos about that. Like it's such a vast topic.
I mean, you ain't gotta, write a book about it, but just, give your general. I know you don't like doing general, but give your response to it. Like, okay, just start one thing at a time. What's
Okay.
it like transitioning from, a single college girl to being a wife?
It's very difficult.
Being a
Uh,
wife is difficult.
I think. I
Okay.
mean, yes, most women who get married, not, I won't say most, most women who get married do so willingly and are in the mind frame, the mindset that the two become one. And as a wife, you're submissive to your husband, or those who are who believe in the Bible anyway. And that the husband is the leader of the household. But um, it's an adjustment period to put yourself under someone else. It takes some getting used to. But I guess if you're coming from a culture where you're under your father and then you're under your husband, then it's not that much of a transition. But if you're like from America, where women are on their own, totally independent, and then you go from being independent to dependent or subjugating yourself to someone, then it's a transition period. But um, and in the beginning, I think it's not as hard as it is later on in the years when stuff gets real. But yeah.
So, I mean, that sounds like doom and gloom. Why would anybody want to get married after hearing that?
I mean,
What's the other side of it?
you gotta make it through the rough patches, but when you do, it's nice. It's beautiful. Uh, oh, like this is a lot, babe. It's a
Into the
lot.
mic.
This is a lot to talk about
Yeah,
on the
it's kind
spot.
of heavy. But I mean, think about it. Just think about the women that you're helping that need to hear this stuff. Because it's like you said, it's not all peaches and cream. Right? It's not all peaches and cream. I don't know why I said it's not all what's it cherries and
Yeah,
roses or
yeah,
whatever.
peaches and cream. That's fine.
Okay, yeah, whatever. I mean, it's not always sunny in Philadelphia, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
there's ups and there's downs, there's good and there's bad. But just I mean, but there's more to it than just that, right? So I mean, what's the upside? I mean, that's the reality of it, right? Is that it's not as simple and it's not as fun or it's not all good
I mean,
all the
marriage. So
time.
yeah,
But
like marriage is hard. You have to
the
continually.
mic.
Marriage is hard. You have to continually work at it, but it's worth it. I think it's worth it to have the opportunity and be blessed to be married in a sanctified union, to build a family, to bring forth life into this world. I mean, for me, having a family is joyful. It's hard, but it's joyful. And watching your children grow up and having your partner, your husband by your side, someone to live your life with, because loneliness is an epidemic
Mm.
in America. Like I read that somewhere, and I mean, really, all kinds of mental and physical disorders stem from loneliness, disorders and effects. And I read that, like, right now, loneliness is considered epidemic in America. People are lonely. And so, I mean, I've learned community is everything, because what's life without people to enjoy it with? And so being married, having someone to live your life with, a partner to build your legacy, to me that's everything. So it's worth it. Somebody to grow old with, most high willing. Both of y'all get to grow old together. Um, yeah,
Okay, so I want to ask you something. You talked about learning to, I think you said be subordinate to someone,
submissive.
submissive, subordinate.
Yeah,
Okay, so
subordinate. Yeah.
what's difficult about that? And I asked that question because I feel like I don't know. I want to say submissive to you as well. I don't know if that's the right word, but I feel like you being submissive. I don't ask you to do nothing that I don't do. I feel like maybe I'm wrong. And, because as a husband, my duty is to protect, provide, procreate, and so everything I do is centered around my family. I consider you and my children in every decision I make. So I don't do a lot of things I want to do. I don't, what I'm saying? A lot of things I do is because I have a wife and children. A lot of things I don't do is because I have a wife and children. So what's the difficult part, about being submissive or subordinate to someone or to your husband?
For me, my personal experience, learning to not learning to trust your husband, but learning how to follow his lead willingly, even when you don't agree.
I,
That was a process for me. So if you make a decision for our family that I won't don't agree with, first of all, I have to accept it that this is what we're doing, even though I don't want to do it. And then learning to wholeheartedly carry out the plan and not
begrudgingly.
begrudgingly. That was a learning process for me.
I guess for me, I think about it like a team sport. So I played football, right? I was all district honorable mention, right? And so so I was decent. I wasn't the best. I was far from the worst. But facts, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, but on a team, like you have a role to play, and if your role is not calling the plays, then regardless if you agree with the play or not, that's like a minute aspect. Like what I'm saying, there's times we're in the game and we know, hey man, we got these guys, up front. We doing this. Hey, let's run this because I know it's gonna work because they can't stop us. Like we dominate them, and then the coach come with something way left field. You're like, what are you doing? But you know what I'm saying? You question it for a split second, but then that's the play that's called. And once it's called, you roll with it, and you go out there and you execute it, you make it work. And if it doesn't work, it's not going to be because you didn't do your part. So for me as a man, it's not difficult for me to subjugate myself to somebody else's leadership. We do it every day in so many aspects of life, and I wonder why it's so difficult for many women to do that.
Well, in this context, like the stakes are much higher. It's not just a game. It's not just a couple hours. It's your life. It's my life. It's what I'm how I'm spending my whole life.
Good point. Good point.
Like it's not just it's a couple
Much greater
hours.
stakes. Yeah.
Much greater stakes.
I mean, at the time though, it was my life. I was a football player. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying? No,
okay.
I'm
I
saying
mean, perception. I
right,
mean, yes,
exactly. In that
that was your
moment, yeah.
perception.
At the
Yes.
time, I mean, because we talking about blood, sweat, and tears. Because it's not football is a year-round thing. It's like you playing during the season, but off season you're training, you're running. I run until I threw up on multiple occasions, not
Yeah.
maybe two times. Think you know what I'm saying? But I mean, you bleeding, you breaking bones. You know what I'm saying? You putting a lot into it. So it means a lot. You know what I'm saying? To win
Yeah.
and lose. It's not just a game.
Right. Right.
It's more, it is a game, but it's more to, it's so much that goes into that. But anyway, point taken. This is on a much grander scale
It's
and
on a
it's
much
much more.
grander scale, and I think the perception. I guess for me, the perception going into the marriage, like we're partners. I just perceive us making decisions together, and I perceive my
Input,
input having greater weight,
equal weight, equal or greater.
greater than what it is.
Okay, so which I think your percent was equal weight. I think that's what thing like it's equal 50-50. So your opinion has as much weight as mine. That's what I think. What you kind of what the expectation of the idea is. And here's the thing with that, right? I think your opinion has more weight than you realize. I think that's one, but I also think it cannot be 50-50. It just can't because then there's no leadership.
I
If it's
didn't say it can't.
no, I'm not.
I
I'm not
didn't
saying
say
you
that.
did. I'm just saying I'm speaking to the whole idea, right? Because if we're I don't think we're a partnership. I think we're a team, and somebody has to make the decisions. And the reason why it's on me to make the decision because it's my responsibility. If things don't work out, we moved overseas. We've been overseas 11 years. If something tragic happens, it's not on you. It's on me. If we move back to the states and something tragic happens, it's not on you. It's on me. Nobody's gonna blame you for it. I'm gonna get the blame for it. No matter what happens, whatever happens with this family, I take the responsibility for it. So ultimately, I have to make the call. You see what I'm saying? So, and if we're 50-50, then what happens when we disagree? We don't get anywhere, or we split. House divided cannot stand. So somebody has to have the final say so. It can't be, you know what I'm saying? Your opinion can't have as much weight as mine, or it's not gonna work. Anything with more than one head is a monster, right? So if it's two heads, then it just don't work. So, um, it just can't work like that. And then that's how I see it. That's why it's not. It's you know what I'm saying. But to go into like how much weight your opinion, your perspective has. I like to think. You tell me yes or no. But I like to think that I come to you and I consult with you and I consider your perspective, your take on every decision I make. I come to you first. I don't just make decisions and then say, hey, this is what it is. You got to deal with it. Do you feel that way or not? Has that been your perception, your experience?
I mean, you do come to me before you make decisions.
Right. So,
I give
um,
my input, and then you do what you're gonna do. So that's what it is.
right. Why, why you look
You want
like
to buy
that?
this
Yeah.
furniture. I thought you shouldn't buy the furniture. You bought the furniture. It is what it is.
Right. Just like,
So
well, okay,
like,
and okay. So,
and so then I had to teach myself to not be upset about the fact that you bought the furniture because it was a good idea. It wasn't a good investment. Da, 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 whatever reasons I have in my mind.
right.
You did it. It's done. Whatever. Let it go.
Okay.
Move
So
on.
that's like when we moved in the house, the last house we was living in. I didn't want to move in the house. I wanted a 4 bedroom, and they advertised it a 4 bedroom, and it wasn't a 4 bedroom. It had 4 room. I guess that little extra part of the kitchen, which was a
Yeah.
dining area, not a really room.
Yeah.
But you liked it. It was a kitchen, had that open space, and it was like you was like, yeah, this is it. I'm like, man, I don't really like this, but we looking. You would really like the place, and ultimately, like you said, you the one got to be there all day. So you know what? I I sucked it up. I got the place. So you know what I'm saying, and that's just an example of what I'm saying. Me considering you, hearing what you're saying, and putting and taking your perspective, your opinion, your input, and applying it to our situation. Because it wasn't the end of the world. But I didn't. I wanted a 4 bedroom. That wasn't a 4 bedroom. But I compromised, and I think that's a big part about it. So it goes both ways. And I just want to give that as an example of how your opinion does have weight. Like I said, it's not going to be equal, but it does have weight. I think any team, even though I'm not the quarterback, my what I'm saying, my assessment, my opinion, my experience should have some impact on the team because I'm out there in the field. So what I'm saying, I don't think it's I don't think it's accurate to look at a marriage like a partnership, but more like a team. Because I think partnership implies 50-50, even though not all partnerships are not 50-50, but I think it implies that. I think that's kind of the
Mm-hmm.
underlying meaning behind partnership. And so
Mm-hmm.
I would say more of a team than a partnership.
Gotcha.
So second part question, and I know I see you got stuff you want to go do. You want to go to your lair, the kitchen. But and it's time to get personal, and it's okay.